Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists that it is completely possible to have a great career in the arts. And if you ever want to tune in and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just check out the schedule over at facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So, if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. This week's episode features New Orleans-based gallery owner Casey Langteau. I was so excited to hear that Casey had already heard about the podcast and listened to a few episodes before I even asked her to be a guest. Seriously, I felt so honored because I've been podcasting for almost a year and it has been very slow growth, but it has been picking up quite a bit lately, which I am super excited about. But with this interview, I already knew that Casey was going to be a really positive example of what a working artist can be. She has her own gallery in New Orleans, is rocking Instagram, and doing it all with a smile on her face. But seriously, you guys should check out her Instagram before listening to this episode, or while you're listening to it. The link is in the notes. It's Casey Langteau Art. Again, the link is in the notes, because I just want you to see her style. It is all her own. It's bright and fun and cohesive and just magical. And I had to ask her, how did you find your own style? Like, it's really specific. And she gave me so many tips and strategies for how she personally narrowed it down. But I'll let her explain it to you. So let me know what you think about this week's episode with Casey Langteau. Okay, so can you just kind of introduce yourself, maybe tell a little bit about how you got into the arts and just that whole shebang?
Absolutely. So my name is Casey Langteau Johnson. I am born and raised New Orleanian. I've been painting since I was a kid. I actually went to LSU for painting and drawing. And I was thinking back then that I would apply that, degree to something more practical, a 9-to-5 career. And after a while of working, in a normal job, it was just not my thing. I found myself painting all the time in my free time, and it was just too much. So I slowly started working from part-time to now full-time. I slowly worked less at that job and was painting more. Mm-hmm. And so I went full-time recently. I went full-time in January 2019 as a full-time artist. So that's been great. And it's so different now that I'm full-time. I feel like I have so much more time to do things. I actually opened a gallery in November, a couple of months ago, and that has been awesome.
Oh my gosh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw you had a gallery opening party or something kind of
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were wearing all the sparkly dresses, and it just looked amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I painted my dress for it to match the theme, and so that was really fun.
Oh, that's so fun. So you mentioned you went to LSU. What was your degree?
Painting and drawing. Oh. It's they make you do studio arts, but I I had a concentration in painting and drawing.
Oh, very nice. It's so nice to be using your degree, as so many people are not. So it's kind of nice to be utilizing that.
Yeah, I know. I definitely didn't think that this was possible. I was just I did it because I loved painting, and I was just thinking I could use, what I've learned to do something else. But it was crazy. Like, I didn't think that, I always believed that it was a starving artist, and I didn't think this was possible. So it is really cool to still be doing it.
So true. And yeah, and we're very similar in that I went and I got a painting degree as well. But even when I was in school, I was like, this is just for fun. Like, I don't really, like, this is just my favorite thing to do. I didn't actually think that I could use it. I like hoped one day. But yeah, it's so crazy how that mentality is just, it's so far out. But I feel like nowadays with Instagram too, a lot of people are like, oh, like, you can do this, you can do that. And it's just almost a little bit more attainable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now that, when I graduated, it wasn't really a big thing on Instagram, like artists as a career, but now I think it is encouraging for other artists who are just starting out to see successful painters, doing this full time and, actually supporting their family with this.
Yeah, for sure. So what was the tipping point that took you from hobby to professional artist?
I would say, so at first, when I first graduated, I was just doing commission paintings, like, friends and family, and it kind of grew from there. I had like a little Etsy and things like that. So I was just doing commissions. And like, when you're doing commissions, it's typically you're doing the same painting over and over again, or like changing it slightly. Like, I would be doing oyster paintings, but like in different colors. Or I would be doing like a large abstract that they wanted that I wouldn't necessarily create. And so I realized that I needed to fulfill my creativity in other ways. So I made time for collections. And I think that's what really was a tipping point for me in turning it into a full-time career. When you do collections, you're obviously, developing your style. You're trying something new. You have like you start to gain like a larger portfolio of subject matter. So I think that definitely was the tipping point. And it also it helped me grow my skill for painting because I was trying something new.
So finding a collection, I think that's great advice for a lot of people. And I think also a lot of artists, including myself, we're just kind of like, oh, I want to paint animals. Oh, I want to paint landscape. Oh, I want to do this and that and everywhere. So do you have any tips for finding your style? Because you have a very set style and it's beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you go back in my grid, you'll see that it has changed so drastically in the past 4 years. Before, I think the main thing is to kind of put your blinders up and not be looking at what other people are creating or having other people tell you what to create. As far as I was working on gold leaf abstracts for a while, and abstracts are just not my thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop doing what other people, what other people are doing and create something that I would want to hang in my house. So I started just painting things that I loved. And then in turn, people loved that because it was different and they hadn't seen it a million times. So I would definitely say just kind of putting your blinders up. Don't look at everyone's Instagram. Don't, get your creativity and inspiration from artists, but get it from your experiences, because then you're going to find your own style naturally.
So true. Yeah. And I think we're all guilty of scrolling Instagram and being like, oh, that's working for her. Maybe it'll work for me, kind of a thing.
Right. And you're either going to have to be the cheapest at what you do or different. And, I decided to be different.
Ooh, that's a really good quote. You're going to either have to be the cheapest or stand out.
Exactly.
That's good. Awesome. So what makes up your typical workday? How many hours do you typically spend painting?
So I think I'm unusual with this because I know a lot of artists just kind of paint whenever they feel creative, and I love that. But I can literally paint all day, every day. And so I need to set up restraints. So I have a social life and I have a family life. So I try to paint from 9 to 5 on Monday through Friday, because if not, I think it would just overflow so much into my life. And I'm trying to set restrictions so that I don't, and also burnout is a real thing. I don't want to be working until 10 p.m. every night and not, enjoying. You have to actually get out to get inspiration. So if I'm painting all day, I'm not going out getting inspiration and creating something new.
Oh, you are a wise woman. I've had to learn that the hard way. Last year, I did so many late nights in a row, and I was like, it's okay. I'm motivated. I want to do all of this, and then I just burn out. I'm
right. I know.
You're so right.
It's exhausting. It is. And I mean, like, I am still guilty of it. Like, I feel like, yes, I am only painting for like, the 8 hours a day or something like that. But then, afterwards, I'm still like feeling the itch to like answer emails or like create new marketing materials. And it's just, so you have to be careful. It's hard. I understand.
It is hard. So are there any painting techniques that you've picked up through your experience? I know that I saw one post that I'm remembering specifically, and it might have been a couple times back, where you laid out your colors, and they weren't like red, green, yellow, like all the like the main colors. You had specific pastel colors that you kept to your, and I was like, that is so smart.
Yeah, I definitely try to work with, like, I have, before I even started painting, kind of come up with the color scheme. I went to like Home Depot one day and just took a bunch of those little cards, those little like color cards, and brought those home. And I basically go through it before I started painting and pick out things that I think, I pick out a scheme that works well, and then I create that within the paints. But as far as like, I don't know, I guess whenever I make a collection, the first thing I do is I go through this list I have. I have like a list of hundreds of just different subject matter, things like that, like inspiration, things that I want to paint. And so, like, for example, I was making the champagne collection I had, and I knew the broad spectrum. Okay, I want to paint champagne. And so I went through the list after that, and I was like, okay, well, what can I pull from this list that will work well with champagne and make the whole piece kind of unique, each piece in the collection unique. So that's when I grabbed, like, let's say macaroons. I've always wanted to paint macaroons, so I grabbed that from the list. I grabbed bumblebees, butterflies, peonies, just like random things from that list, and, added it into the collection. Trying to think. Other than that, I don't know if you notice with my style, but I use lots of thick paint. And so I've experimented a lot with different mediums. And so I would definitely recommend that to any artist, to like just, get a few little tubes of mediums, and like that can completely transform your style.
Awesome. So you said thick paint or stick paint? What was it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said thick paint. I
thick paint.
add like a gel medium to all of my acrylic paints to make it super thick and textured. And I think that's where my style started to develop, when I started to experiment with mediums.
Oh, very cool. So do you use, is it mostly acrylic? How long does it take to dry is my first question, if it's really thick.
Yeah. I mean, so I try to work pretty fast. So I would say probably like 5 hours for like one portion of the painting to dry completely.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, then that's not oil paint, but it's not super, and it could probably help you, like, to expand the time so you have some time to work it. And
oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, yeah, since it is so thick that I can kind of just, like, let's say I don't like it, I could just scratch it off and like mix the color again, and
Ooh.
So yeah, I really enjoy that process.
Oh yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna go to your Instagram and look for like a time lapse now, just to like see how you do that.
I have a bunch of those. Yeah, absolutely. I have to post more, but yeah.
So what is the one thing you don't like to paint without?
So this is okay. So I can honestly paint without anything. Like, if I didn't have paint, like, I would make paint. You know what I mean? But I would say, like, just like figuratively, if I always try to come into the studio each day with like a positive outlook on the day, or just like saying like, okay, you know what? Instead of having like the stress of like, okay, I need to do this, I need to hurry up and do that, I just say like, I will create good work today, and I will bring joy to people through this work. And like just starting with that mentality, and like throughout the day, just kind of like a mantra, just saying it throughout the day really helps me like create good work. Cause I'm like, you know what? This is great,
Oh, I love that. I love that answer. Nobody's really said that. They usually said like, music or stuff like that, but nobody's really like focused on the mentality part, which is so important. And just like, and so you come in your studio, do you like say it in your head, or do you kind of say it out loud? You're like, this is going to be an awesome day.
I'm probably out loud. It's just me and my dogs,
Yeah.
They're not judging me.
So true. I love
just
that.
putting it out there in the atmosphere, like in the universe, just honestly saying and writing things down, like, makes them come true. You know what I mean? Like, You just have to put it out there.
So true. Oh, I'm going to have to work that into my daily habits. Like, this is going to be a good day. And like, I love every bit of that.
Absolutely.
So on kind of the flip side, are there any lessons you've learned the hard way with art?
I mean, yes. I mean, of course, there are things that I had maybe not learned like the hard way, like being, screwed over or something like that. But it's mainly like the amount of time I've had. It takes time to learn things. So I guess the main two things is not investing in myself earlier. Like, I don't know if 4 years ago I saw some of these like classes like that you offer and other people offer, I wish that existed then. I don't think it did.
I don't think it did either.
If it did, I would have invested in that so quickly because I had to learn all of these things the long way. Maybe not the hard way, but the long way. Also, not doing print soon enough. It took me like, I don't know why. I guess I just have like a weird mindset about doing prints. I thought that it like cheapened your original paintings and things like that. And I started like doing prints on my website in November, and it has completely transformed like my job, like the whole thing. And I really appreciate now that I have them. Like I listened to your 3-tier podcast, and that was like so great. I think people really need to listen to that one because you learn how, to set like, levels, like a $50 print. And then you have like your $200 canvas print, and then you have your originals. And it really gives buyers or collectors, different price points to work with. And also like, someone might not be looking for a huge original painting. Maybe they just want a little print for their office. So it's great to have that for them.
Oh, I love that. You made my day. As somebody of your level as well is listening to the podcast and using it too. I'm like, that just makes my day, makes my week. So thank you for mentioning
absolutely.
that. But yeah, I was in the same boat as you a couple years ago of like doing prints because it's like a whole other thing to figure out too. Like how are you getting them printed? Where are you getting them printed? What are you going to do? And it's like, I remember.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, I remember being there and I put it off for like, I don't know, 6 months or more longer of like, just like, I'll do a little bit. And I was just scared. And I remember thinking, I'm like, if there was like a step-by-step program of how to make prints, like I would buy it right now. And I'm like, maybe I'll create it. And then I did. So it's just,
that's so useful for people. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, for sure. So
that's huge.
Do you have a favorite past project?
I would say, as like a whole, I had a collection come out, last October. It was a collection. It was called Break Free, the Break Free collection. And each painting, I had 30 paintings, like pretty large paintings in that collection. It took a while to make, but each painting was titled after a Queen song. So that was really fun to kind of just like, break free of some like traditional titles and like have fun titles like Fat Bottom Girls and Killer Queen. So I really enjoyed that one. But the reason I think that I like that project the most out of all of the past collections I've had is because that's when I started looking into a gallery space. Originally, whenever I went full-time in January, I wanted to have like almost like a big celebration, a party saying like, hey, look, I'm a full-time artist. Like I'm making this work. So I started researching then, trying to think, all right, let me just have like a collection release and have like a solo show to celebrate the collection release. And so I started looking at different venues, like wedding venues, restaurants, things like that. And to have the show at, and I quickly realized that I wanted to have my own space that I could decorate and like, give everyone like the whole branding experience, like the whole thing. So I started looking at different retail spaces in New Orleans. I went up and down popular shopping streets and looked at the for sale and for rent signs in the windows. And I would call any place that was vacant and talk to the realtor and explain that I just wanted to rent their space for one day. And I would be like, okay, like, it's already vacant. So like, I could give you some money and pay you for one day. And like, so that was like a whole process. And it was really hard to find a place that would accept that. And eventually I did. And it was like the perfect place, lots of natural light, lots of wall space. And they allowed me to rent the space for 2 weeks, 1 week in the beginning. And 1 week to set up and 1 week to take everything down and like the show right in the middle. So that was awesome. We had the big show, which I think that's what you were talking about in the beginning. Yeah. We had that big show and it was so successful that I was like, you know what? Like, can we just stay here a little bit longer? So we end up renting this space for, another year or so.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. And that's also something I know nothing about, just having a gallery. So I have a few couple questions about it. So
Yeah.
do you get most of your sales from passerbys, or do you hold events and make most of the income? Like what's the strategy for having a gallery? Because it sounds fabulous.
Yes, it's so great. It's a little bit of everything, to be honest. We do have like a lot of tourists going down the street that is on. So that's great because people who've never seen my work can they look in the window like, what's going on in there? And they pop in. They love it. They either take a card or they get a little print that they can travel home with. But I also do host parties, and, I had a huge Christmas party and collection release and things like that. The street that it's on also has different art walk nights. So those are really awesome because I can meet new collectors. But yeah, honestly, it's nice to have a space where people can go, people who maybe have seen my work before, who live locally, can go and, see things in person. Because, artwork looks so completely different in person. You have a different experience with it in general. So I found it very valuable to have a space for people to just, even if they don't buy anything, just to come say hello and we can connect that way.
Yes, I love that. Okay. So where do you get most of your commissions, and where do you make most of your sales? Are they mostly from inside the gallery? Is it online? How many square feet is your gallery? Just so it looks pretty big.
It's like 1,000 square feet. Okay. And it has really tall ceilings, so it looks a little bit bigger. Oh. But yeah, I think about half and half. I get half of my sales from the gallery and then the other half from online or through Instagram. I found that, Instagram is so huge because people can find me on Instagram and then go to the gallery in real life and see everything in person. But also email marketing, I think, is a great way to connect with your collectors because, sometimes Instagram can be so loud. It's nice to have an intimate group of people that I can share artwork with too.
Yes,
I definitely also, for other artists out there who are trying to get commissions, I would definitely recommend putting a commission tab on your website. So instead of just having a shop and an about me, have a third one that says commission, and then in that you can have your entire process laid out for people. And they'll see hey, wait, this person does do commissions. This is how it works. This is how much it costs. And I think that helps a lot.
Oh, that's gold advice too. Yeah, just putting it all out there so they don't even have to ask. They're like, oh, I need to email her, and then this is what it costs. Okay, that's great. Anybody that's listening that's if you're not getting as many commissions on your website, that might be why. You almost have to herd people like cattle. Sometimes it's go here.
Yeah. Well, also someone who doesn't understand how how an artist works, they're probably oh, well, she doesn't have time for commissions. She doesn't do that. I don't want to ask. I'm nervous to ask. She's, so it's nice to lay it all out. I even have a frequently asked questions tab just to, some people are curious about my policies and things like that. So just having it all there, and that way you're not answering the same questions over and over again.
So true. Yes, that's so true. Because I get a lot of the time people hey, I know you're really busy, but can you do this? And I'm I'm busy, but not really. But because they see us posting every day, and they're oh man, she is so busy, and it's kind of.
Right,
but
she
I
doesn't
want
have
your
time
work
for me.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Yeah. It's how many people are yeah. It's how many people are looking at that and being oh, there's no way she would take on my commission. Just to kind of break down the barrier of nope, I welcome all.
Yes, make it very approachable for sure.
Yes. What are your future art plans and goals? What are you working on right now? What's coming up?
Yeah, so right now I'm just working on a few different collections. I try to schedule maybe 2 months every once in a while to just work on my work, and then the other months I'll work on commissions. But I do have a floral collection coming up, and then after that I have a New Orleans collection. But I guess my goals are just to keep bringing joy to people's homes, and continuing to, I guess, just stay positive, especially in this time. I think it's important for people to see some joy on Instagram or their Facebook. I feel whenever I'm going through right now, it's a lot of negativity, and my goal for this moment right now is just to bring happiness and something beautiful to people's lives.
Yes, that's amazing. Is there any art advice that you would give to aspiring artists who are just starting out but don't know where to start?
Yes, absolutely. So I find that setting goals has really helped me. Just like putting something down on paper, like, hey, like thinking, what do I want? And then once you figure that out, writing it down, setting yearly goals, I think is huge. Whether it be just like a certain amount that you make per year, or honestly, like I make, how many collections will I make this year? Okay, like I want to make 5 collection releases. I want to, that's how I rented out the space. I was like, I definitely want to have a huge party to celebrate, this whole being a full-time artist. Like that was one of my huge goals. So writing that down. Also, I would say like investing in yourself, whether that be through time or money. There's so many free resources out there, like your podcast, different courses you can take, and just really like believing that, hey, this is possible, and these are some shortcuts to make it even more possible.
Yes, I love that too. Yeah, just like setting goals and figuring out what you want, like you said. Because a lot of people, I'll ask a lot of my students too, be like, hey, what do you want to do this quarter? And they're like, I don't paint. I'm like, but paint what? They're like, I don't know. Like, right. It's so cute, but it's just like a lot of people don't know what they want. And even I too have to like sit down and like write it out, and like, because so many things get jumbled. I'm like, okay, what's a priority?
Yeah.
And like setting a priority. So I love all of that.
Exactly. It's so loud out there, and so it's hard to figure out exactly like what you're searching for as a person. So you really need to like do some soul searching and figure that out before you just go on and live life. You know what I mean?
Yes, so true. Well, that's all I have. And if anybody has any questions or if you have any last minute comments, but this is awesome. I think a lot of artists will take a lot from this, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say congratulations on your wedding. It looked absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. We're still in the honeymoon phase. We're like, marriage is so fun. And it's so weird right now too with like the whole quarantine thing, but we're like, we're quarantined together.
Right. No, that's so true. I'm sure you're very happy to have each other right now, especially. Where was your wedding? It looked gorgeous.
Yeah, it was in Aruba. So, and we luckily we did it right, but like mid-February. So before all of this stuff. But yeah, and then we went to Antarctica for our honeymoon, which was nuts.
I know, I saw that. That was so unbelievable. What an experience.
Yeah, we had been saving for like a year and a half. And we're like, we got this. So yeah, it was amazing. But yeah.
Wow, that's like once in a lifetime trip. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. Okay, well, I think that's about it. Thank you so much again. Someone just commented like,
"Thank you,
great interview, thank you." And I think there was several on there that was like, "Thank you so much for this advice." And so,
of course, I'm happy to help, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. One last thing, could you just say like what's the best way to contact you? Is it through your website or Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, my name again is Casey Langteau Art. Well, that's my, Casey Langteau Art is my handle on Instagram. Langteau Casey is Casey. Langteau is Langteau art. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram or on my website. I would love to meet you.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right, well, let's keep in touch and I will talk to you later.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time 6-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own 6-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So, if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am at Art by Andrea Earhart. I will then promote your art on my story and tag you as a little thank you for helping me grow this podcast and our Artist Academy community. I have a reach of over 50,000 on Instagram, so this is a little help me to help you incentive. Also, if you ever want your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy to check out the schedule every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you next week.